Today, we are going to be making a project that uses two things that we've already learned about so far this year, and that is cool colors and warm colors. We did the cool color spider webs and the warm color spooky silhouettes, but we're going to take those two groups of colors and combine them into one project, also creating something called a cityscape. Now, a landscape or a seascape, all of these different kinds of scapes have in their name the description of what the focus is. So a landscape is a picture of wide open space or land. A seascape is likely a picture that has the ocean or a beach, things like that. A cityscape shows a city. All right, and as you can see, I have one right here. Cityscapes, you think of probably the most famous skyline in the United States, which would be New York City. So we are going to create a cityscape that has a warm color sunset sky and then cool colors on the water in front of the cityscape, showing you reflection of the buildings. So I'm going to show you step-by-step how to do this. Remember, since it is a step-by-step video, you can pause and rewind if you need to. So you don't have to keep up with me. I might be going a little fast. I'm just doing that so that the video doesn't go on forever. But you can always pause, rewind, watch it again, whatever you need to do. You're going to need paper. You're going to need blendable things to color with. So I would say colored pencils, crayons. I use Crayola color sticks for this project, which are very similar to crayons. And you're also going to want to make sure that you definitely have a black crayon, black marker if you want to do this with paint. Very similar to the same materials that you used for your silhouette project. So it's going to be very much like that. So we're going to tackle this together a step at a time, and let's get started. All right, so one of the first things I'm going to do is we're actually going to hold our paper vertically for this. Normally, if we were just drawing out a seascape, we would actually hold our paper the other way horizontally, but since we are trying to get so much color in here, we're actually going to hold it vertically up and down, and you are going to take your paper and fold it in half. Make sure when you're folding your paper in half that you are lining up the edges of your paper. Run your finger down to the middle and off to either side. This will help you split your paper in half, so that obviously the top half will be our warm half with our buildings, and the bottom half will be more of our water with our cool colors and our reflections of our buildings. Now, the next part is going to be creating your buildings. I'm going to do this with a black marker just so you can see what I'm doing, but you have to think about a city. Think about the types of buildings that you would see in a cityscape. They would be really, really tall. You can see that some of them I've included a little window just to have the color poke through, but you don't have to do that. So I'm going to start from the side, and it's really just a series of almost like rectangles, and sometimes you can put, a pointy part on top of a building, make them come down a little lower, maybe make a building a little bit wider, but you have to think about them all kind of being really near each other. I'm going to bring one down here, and I'm going to go off my edge. So I've kind of done that. If I lift my paper a little bit, you can see I still left myself some space here. If it helps you, you can also make a thick black line that just goes across the middle of your paper to really help you separate them. Now you're going to want to color in the silhouette of your cityscape completely in black. I could do this with my marker. I did it with my black color stick or crayon in that one. Just the only thing that you want to keep in mind is that you're actually going to color in your silhouette first, but then when you're going in between the buildings, you're just going to be careful when you're doing that. But since you're using the warm colors, most of it will just be simply taking the color yellow and kind of tucking that in between your buildings, so it's not that big of a deal. So I'm actually going to do this one with my marker. So I'm going to color in my cityscape. I'm going to leave a couple little windows, just like I did in this one over here. And then I'm going to color it in. And there here is my silhouette of my big cityscape of buildings. So now I'm going to move on and finish the top half of my project, and that is going to be using crayons, colored pencils, color sticks, whatever it is that you have at home. Basically, it is the same directions as our warm color silhouette. So let me move my chair here. All right, so you're basically coloring the same exact directions, except now that since you've done your silhouette first, you're going to reverse it and do starting with red at the top, fading into orange, and then yellow at the bottom in between. Remember, if you're using crayons that are peeled or color sticks or something of this, type of material, you can hold them on its side and simply just blend them to make it easier. There you go. So I've blended my sky. Remember, sometimes after doing the yellow, you want to go back in with a little bit of orange and blend it a little bit more. And that is the top half of our cityscape. So now it's time to do the bottom half with our cooler colors, which remember are green, blue, and purple. Now, if you really, really, really want to blend these, it might be helpful to not only have just a plain green, but if you happen to have a yellow green, and maybe a blue green, to have kind of a light green and a light blue, as well as regular blue and green to have the darker ones, that might actually not be a bad idea. Now, in the case of our cool color water, I'm actually going to do the colors first and then add the reflection of my city on top of that. So I have a light green, a dark green, a light blue, a darker blue, and last but not least, my violet. So I'm actually going to hold them in that order and use them on their side. Again, this is the easiest way to do it. It doesn't have to be, something that's colored and super neat. I have them on top of this paper, so I am kind of running off my paper a little bit here. But I'm going to start off with my green, and I am simply going to work my way from light green all the way through to purple. And if you notice while I'm doing this, I am actually going in the order of the rainbow as I go down my paper. I've got Roy G. Biv going right down my paper as I work my way through my warm and cools. All right, I've done all of my cool colors. I've got my greens all the way down through my purples, and I am going to I'm actually going to try this out with my marker, since I said this one was done with my color sticks, which is very similar to what it would look like with crayon. But I'm going to take my marker, and my reflection of my water is not an exact duplicate of my building, but simply just a scribble, because on the surface of water, it kind of has that ripple effect. So I'm going to just pay attention to, these are my two tallest buildings, so these are going to be my two longest shadows, and I'm going to try and do my best to kind of match them. So I'm just going to kind of do a little back and forth, a little short little bit, then I have a longer shadow, and you're just kind of making them a little scribbly. And that's it. Very simple, very scribbly, not perfect, just, kind of trying to get similar to the height that you would find on these real buildings. And that's it. So you have our warm colors, red, orange, and yellow, and our cool colors, green, blue, and violet, and a beautiful silhouette and reflection of a cityscape. So take your time. Remember, use blendable materials like colored pencils, crayons, color sticks. If you want to try it with chalk, you can. But in that case, I would probably paint the cityscape with black paint. So there are lots of different ways that you can do this. Find what works best for you with the materials that you have at home, and don't forget to send me a picture when you're done so I can see it. And I will see you guys next time for art class. Bye!